Hey friends, I'm Leah Carey, sex and intimacy coach and host of the podcast Good Girls Talk About Sex. Today we're going to look at some scenes from Bachelor in Paradise episode 8 to break down some examples of self-delusion and dancing vaginas and more. So let's do this! First, let's look at Demi and Kenny for one last time.
Kenny was using me to get over Mari, then went back to Mari. I feel like a
The reason that I'm categorizing this as self-deluded behavior is because Demi is demonstrating some behavior that she's not taking responsibility for and then blaming another person for participating in that behavior when in fact he's not. If you'll remember, when this whole love triangle began a few weeks ago, it started because Mari said to Kenny, I want to be available to date other people. And Kenny's response was, oh dear, well, if you're going to do that, that must mean we're over. When Mari said to Demi what had happened, Demi's response was, oh, well, girl, then I'm in. I'm going to take your man. And she was not at all subtle about it. This was all totally out loud. It's not as if she was trying to hide what was going on and pretend that suddenly they had this new connection. No, she very clearly said, Kenny's hot. I want to get with Kenny. And then she did that in front of Mari. So Mari was watching Kenny and Demi. And in fact, Demi took some delight in the fact that she was doing this in a way that Mari could watch. Demi is the one who actually hit on Kenny. He did not come after her looking for a fling to get over Mari. He was, sulking about having been let down by Mari, and Demi shows up and says, I will make you feel better. That is not Kenny using Demi. That is Demi walking into a situation with her eyes wide open. So for her to then claim that Kenny was using her to get over Mari, that is what I am saying is delusional. That is someone who is so unaware of how she operates in the space and thinking that she is the victim of everything that has happened.
Mari and Kenny kissing in front of me. Wait till I'm about to leave. Wait till I go.
When Demi went to Kenny, she was very open about the fact that she was going after him. They were kissing in front of everyone. They were making out and being all goo goo gaga in front of everyone, including Mari. And that, I think, was part of Demi's, I don't know if I would say that she had a plan so much as that. That's just sort of her MO. She likes to stir the pot. She doesn't necessarily have any issue with making other people feel bad. But when she is on the receiving end, then it becomes a crisis where she absolutely, as we see in this clip, kind of loses her shit that Kenny and Mari were kissing before Demi had left the building, as if that was the most disrespectful thing they could have done. Now, I'm not going to disagree entirely. Maybe they could have been more respectful. But the fact that Demi was requiring respect of exactly the type she didn't give is kind of rich. I get really uncomfortable when I hear people say, if you ever hurt my sister, I'm going to kill you. Or, you better not hurt me. I've already been hurt so many times before and I just couldn't handle it. Relationships are at their core opening yourself to be hurt. There is no way to develop an intimate, meaningful relationship without becoming vulnerable. And being vulnerable means that you are open to being hurt. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. That is the state of human relationships. I want to share a piece of something with you that I wrote about 8 years ago. Before I went through my journey of sexual healing, before I had the long-term partner I have now, It was me sort of thinking through what my pledge would be to love another person without that other person actually being in the picture. It felt easier to me to process through that when there wasn't an actual real person with actual real baggage there that I was dealing with. It was a lot easier for me to think of it in sort of a hypothetical way and really get clear on what are the values that I want to bring to a relationship. So here's a piece of what I wrote. This is my pledge. I will trust you enough to tell you the truth as I know it in any given moment. I cannot promise to not hurt you, just like you cannot promise to not hurt me. We don't get to decide what another finds hurtful. But if you are hurt, I will listen. I might not be able to make it better. I might not even agree with what you say, but I will have enough honor and respect for you to listen to your feelings. I will endeavor to always see you as the whole and complicated person that you are. Not perfect, but not broken. Full of strengths and weaknesses. And I will trust you enough to show you the whole and complicated person that I am, and not hide the parts that I've convinced myself aren't lovable. Can you see how different that is from the behaviors that we've seen demonstrated by Demi and Tammy? They are not trusting themselves to be seen as whole and lovable. So they are relying on the other person to show them that they are whole and lovable. And then when that person says, you know what, I have a stronger bond with somebody else, that causes them to feel like, oh my God, I'm totally worthless. And then lash out at their previous partner. Let's do a little tag to the whole Brendan and Piper affair.
In a relationship is at the expense of someone else that wanted to be with one person or another.
The first part of that clip was cut off a little bit. Brendan says it usually is the case that when you get into a relationship with someone, it's almost always going to hurt someone else. And I am going to say that that is the sign of someone who does not know how to communicate. Do people get hurt when someone doesn't want a relationship with them? Absolutely. There's no sugarcoating that. But to suggest that me choosing one person is necessarily going to hurt someone else suggests that you're playing kind of fast and loose with how you feel and what's going on with you, that you're leading people on. Therefore, they get hurt because you weren't actually telling them the truth. That is all I'm going to say about Brendan and Piper. Goodbye.
That's a lot. Right?
All right.
Okay, let's talk whipped cream. And I hope you knew that I was going to do this. So whipped cream is a big fantasy item for a lot of people, and I totally get why, because it's light, it's frothy, it's easily spreadable. You can push it out of the can. What do you call that? Here's what I want to remind you, that if that substance gets anywhere near your hoo-ha, it can cause some real problems with yeast infections and other sort of bacterial issues. Our hoo-has are not meant to receive any sort of sugary or acidic foods. I know that some people use produce from the grocery store if they want, a more natural insertion, shall we say. And that's fine if you put a condom on it. But don't put any of that stuff inside yourself without some protective barrier. And don't put that, putting whipped cream anywhere in that area. I really, really suggest that you don't do that. Also, whipped cream can be kind of funky, because if you don't lick it off immediately, it doesn't take very long for it to sort of get kind of gross. It melts a little bit, it gets a little goopy, and it even starts to taste a little funny. It's really meant to be eaten pretty immediately. So if you're doing something where you're like putting something all over somebody's body to lick it off, whipped cream might not be your best option. You might want to go with something that's more like spreadable chocolate. Not to say don't use whipped cream, just be aware that if it's going to be on somebody's body for more than, 30 seconds or a minute, you might want to choose something else. Other than that, lots of fun. Have a great time.
When I'm feeling it, I'm feeling it. And if it doesn't make your vagina dance, it's not worth it. It's wild. I'm feeling my vagina dance.
That has got to be the line of the episode, right? If it doesn't make your vagina dance, it's not worth it. I'm going to suggest that your vagina dancing is a great signal about lust, but if you're looking for a long-term partner, that might not actually be your best barometer of what's going to work for you. Not to say turn away the person who makes your vagina dance. I'm all for it. But sometimes that sort of really hot chemistry can end up being turning into a really volatile relationship. Also, not everybody's vagina dances. So if you're one of those people who it does, great, go forth. But if you're one of those people who doesn't experience that, please hear me when I say there's nothing wrong with you. You do not need to have this experience in order to know that someone might be a good fit, might be someone who you want to go get to know better. For instance, people who identify as demisexual probably don't have this experience almost ever on meeting a new person because they require a bond, a relationship to be formed before they become sexually interested in someone. Now, maybe their vagina dances after that connection has been formed, but this sort of like hot chemistry that they have right away, that's not going to happen for some people. So I just really want you to hear me saying that if that's not something you've experienced and you're feeling like, oh my God, maybe there's something wrong with me, there's nothing wrong with you. Okay, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and a subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified when my next video comes out. And if you'd like to take any of the things I've talked about today and sort of sort them through for yourself, how they relate to your own life and your own relationships, let me know. I offer individual and couples coaching. For more information and to book a discovery call, use the link in the description. So until next time, here's to your better sex life.